right, so just a reminder what you've seen in the slides so far. We have 3 important formulas that you need to remember, so make sure that you're writing them down every time. The first one is that sine of A is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse, and we call that SO to help us remember. Cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, and we say ka to help us remember. And tan of an angle is equal to opposite over adjacent, and we use TOA to help us remember. So I've listed the steps to finding the missing side on the slide, and I'm going to go through the steps and show you how to do that. So I copied the triangle onto my page, and I encourage you to copy the triangle every time because you'll need to be able to label it, and that's our first step. So I'm going to start off by labeling the hypotenuse, and that's always across from the right angle. Opposite is always opposite of this reference angle. So that's the angle that I'm given and I'm working with. So opposite of that is the opposite side. And adjacent is the one beside the reference angle. The word adjacent means beside. Now I'm going to identify which sides I have and which I want. So I have the hypotenuse and I want the opposite side. So because I have hypotenuse, I want the opposite side, I'm going to look at my 3 formulas. And the formula that includes O and H is sine. So I know that I need to use the sine formula. So I'm going to write it out. So step 3 was determine which formula to use. And step 4 was to write it out. So sine of A is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Step 5 is to substitute the known values into the formula. So I'm going to call this angle A, and I'm going to substitute the angle as well as the opposite and the hypotenuse. So sine of 35 degrees is equal to opposite, which is B, over hypotenuse, which is 16. My next step is to simplify. So sine 35, we saw that a couple slides earlier. I'm going to use my calculator to calculate it. So if you've had issues with that before, this is how we do it. It's in degree mode. So I'm going to enter sine and then 35, which gives me this number. And we're always going to round it to 4 decimal places to get an as accurate answer as possible. So 0.5736. So that's what I'm going to write. Instead of sine 35, I'm going to write 0.5736. That gives me B over 16. To solve for B, I need to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply this over on the other side, and I get 0.5736 times 16 is equal to B. And I get 9.2. I'm going to round this to 1 decimal place. And I'm given the unit centimeters, so I can add centimeters here. Alternatively, if you want, at this point right here, instead of solving first, I can cross multiply first. So I can multiply the 16 over on the other side, but I always, always, always write the number in front of sine. So I can instead write it like this: 16 sine 35 is equal to B, and then put it in my calculator all in one step. So I can write 16 sine 35, which gives me 9.2. The only time it's a little bit trickier is if yours is the kind of calculator where you first need to enter the number and then and then hit the sign button. That might make it a little bit different, but so there you have it. So that's an example using the sine ratio to find the missing side.